Hello everyone, welcome to the second video in our FUME tutorial series. This time we're going to look at arrays and the different ways of working with them. We encounter arrays both in the input structures and in FHIR itself. I've edited the example from the previous video and I made the phones an array, each one with a number and a type. And I also added a middle name here. And you'll see how all of this relates to working with arrays. Another thing that was here in the example, and we skipped it in the first video, is the passport number. The passport number is another kind of identifier, just like the social security number. So adding it means adding it to the identifier array. So let's see how we do that. That would be a static example of adding elements to the array, because we know that each element in the array is mapped to a separate element in the source data. This is why we call it static. So for those scenarios, all we need to do is just repeat the rule. This time that would be the identifier rule. And just say that the value equals passport number. We will also add the system. And the system for passport numbers is a pattern that we have an alias for. We call it passport prefix, and we suffix it with the passport country. So there we go. We have an array of identifiers. The first one is mapped from the social security number, and it has its own URI, and the second one is mapped from the passport number, and it has its own URI, which was generated from the pattern and the country code. So that's the simple case. We have another simple case, which is the middle name, because FHIR doesn't have a middle name element, but the given element is an array itself. So the correct thing to do would be to add another given, which equals to middle name. And as you can see, the order that the elements, the values appear in the result is the same order that we have put the rules in. So first name is first, middle name is second. Same for the identifier, social security number is first, passport number is second. So those are fixed arrays. And let's go to the phones. The phones can have a different number of elements in the array for each instance of the input data. So in this case we have 3. In other cases we may have 2 or 1 or 0 or 10. And we are not going to create hard-coded rules for that. That would be impossible. We want to create a dynamic rule. So for this, we add context, like that. Brackets and a period before the name of the rule, and inside the brackets, we put the context element. These do two separate things. The first thing is it says FUME, duplicate this rule for each element in this array. And the second thing it says is that for each rule under telecom, the context is now phones. So if the full path for the number is phones period number, here, because the context is phones, we can just say that the value equals number. And the system, since they are all phones, would be fixed phone. And the use should be calculated according to the type. So if type equals home, that would be home. Else type equals cell and mobile. Else if type equals work, So there we go, and we have 3 phones. Each one corresponds to a phone in the source data. You can see this is a duplication, but if I change the number here, then you can see the difference in the output. So again, the order is kept, the context is inherited from here, and this makes it possible to create dynamic arrays from dynamic inputs. That would be all for this video. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.